right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our office hours, the Growth Network podcast office hours, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And today I'm really excited to talk about the process of building a podcast. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to build a podcast process tracker on Monday.com with one of my favorite people in the world, Kirsten Ebey. And so I'm so excited to get into that. Hey, thank you so much. My name is Lynz. I am the GM and a podcast producer at Growth Network Podcasts. And we work with businesses and organizations, institutions, and individuals and solopreneurs, helping them create processes for their podcasts. We also do things like, create the micro content that goes out into various social medias. We help with strategy. We help with guest booking. We kind of can do anything. So that may be a big claim. Anything? Yeah, probably, within the podcast space, we're here to help. So what we want to do here on these office hours, we were already getting together with our team kind of on a weekly basis, going through the tools that we use to get better at them and to get them down and to sort of train on them. And I figured what better way than to open that up to the LinkedIn world at large so that we can go through and learn tools together. And I'm glad you're here with me. All right, with that out of the way, I'm going to welcome my pal Kirsten, and we're going to get into what she does real quick, and then we'll dig into the tool that we're playing with today, which is Monday.com.
Hey, y'all. My name's Kirsten. Kirsten Ebey. I am the owner and principal project manager at path2summit.com. Path2Summit is a virtual project management firm. So we build out project management offices, PMOs, you might have seen, streamline processes, manage complex projects on behalf of other organizations, and really just teach people and organizations how to be kick-ass project managers, right? So what can go hand in hand with all of that is finding, matching, and building out these tools. Like Monday.com is the one we're going to use today, right? But I'm sure all of y'all have heard of so many different types of tools to manage workflows and streamline and automate. So this is just the one that we've picked for today. Yeah, that's us.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited. I've dabbled with Monday.com myself, but I haven't really, haven't dived in. And so I'm excited to go in deep here. And, part of this is really cool because you're in our course right now, which is, a 6-week course learning how to do podcasting, because it's always something you wanted to do. And this is like a convergence, because as you're picking up those skills, we can learn back from you, and, it's
right.
So
such a good knowledge share, right?
Yes.
And by the way, just a little plug. If you wanted to create a podcast, just go sign up for the course, because then you'll actually have one in 6 weeks, right? Yeah. Can vouch.
The thing comes together, it has to get made. So
absolutely.
In that plug here, you can go to growthnetworkpodcast.com, click on our events, and go through it through there. But now let's get into the Monday.com action here.
Let's do it. Hey, do you mind if I present?
Yeah, share your screen.
Awesome. Let's do it. Let's share screen. Well, I wanted to just touch on, I was overwhelmed to start a podcast, right? And I'm a project manager, right? So the podcast to me is a project. It's a whole project. So I don't want to overwhelm anyone and say you have to have a project management tool. It's just actually going to make things a lot easier. So when we look at why, and put your 2 cents in on this, Lynz, I think that disorganization can truly mean success or failure, right? The organization, I should say, of your podcast and what needs to be done on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, that truly means fail or succeed, right?
Mm-hmm. There's something, I mean, if you've built a system to support you, then when you falter, which is people we do, you have a little more scaffolding to rely on to get back on the horse.
Yeah.
And I think that really, because it's inevitable to have some moments where you just like drop the ball, but like, if have you set up a
Right.
system, then you can pick it back up again so much easier.
So we build these things out just to create that rhythm, like that cadence that you can build this discipline around. Hey, I know exactly what I need to get done today. I know exactly what I need to get done this week that will support my podcast on a continuous basis. I think we as humans all get super pumped to launch something new, to try something new. We can start really, really, we can go hard out the gate, and then the excitement kind of fizzles out of that honeymoon phase. So if we have these project tools, tasks outline, things like that, it really just helps with the longevity of our project and to keep that motivation going, right?
Yeah.
So
There's a
that's
term
why we're
for
doing
that
it.
in the world of podcasting called pod fade, because the
Ooh,
natural enthusiasm starts to wane, and you realize how much work it is, and how podcasting is a
yeah,
multidisciplinary. Like you better be a Swiss Army knife approach, because you use so many skills from so many disciplines. So,
that
but
makes
I think
sense.
as people, we're capable of kind of growing all that, but having this in place makes sure that we don't drop any steps.
That totally makes sense. So, with that, Lynz, introduce the example. What's our podcast that we're going to be organizing today?
Yes. So, starting last week, we created in Canva at the office hours. I've always wanted to make a podcast about grilled cheeses. I don't really think it may be a financially viable podcast, but it's such a fun example to play with. And so we
It
came up with
truly
one
is.
called the Grilled Cheese Experience.
Yes.
And I am just going to quickly show you the graphic because I feel like that'll
Do
set
it.
the mood. This is what the show
Absolutely.
we're making. So just pulling that up real quick. And
So, based off of this grilled cheese experience,
mm-hmm,
we are going to go through organizing the marketing for the grilled cheese experience podcast. What does that look like? What about guests? We may need some guest chefs, guest entrepreneurs of grilled cheese, some worldly connoisseurs of grilled cheese. We
mm-hmm,
we need all of these things, right? Additionally, we want to make sure that each episode is prepared in a consistent manner, uh, and we can see from step to step what's next, what needs to be done in what order, so that every time we publish an episode, we know it's going to be banging. We know it's going to be great. It checked all the boxes,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I do have the graphic we made from the grilled cheese experience. This was the logo that was we had a few that we made a bunch of different ones as we were trying to figure out what we were doing, but this is the one we landed on, and I feel like that sets the tone. And now I'm going to pull your screen back on there, and we'll get
Awesome.
into how we're going to make the show.
I love it. I love it. So today I'm using Monday.com. Why? The UI is pretty epic. You can see it right now. It's pretty easy as far as navigational windows.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to go to my avatar and see all of the administrative stuff, all of the settings, all of the configurations right here. It's easy to invite people, add applications, aka apps, right? So Monday.com is a pretty cool tool to utilize. It's easy to learn. There's a ton of free resources, which I love. It's also really easy to integrate with other tools or have other tools talk to Monday.com. That's what I mean by integrate. Okay. So I created a workspace for Lynz's company, Growth Network Podcast. I created that workspace because that's the overall company right now. And beneath that, I have the opportunity to create different folders for different podcasts. Super easy. Plus, new board, new doc, new folder, right? So I would just new folder, and I could add a at the Summit PM podcast and create organizational tools right below there. However, as we've discussed, we're going to focus on the grilled cheese experience. I can't get over it. I still love it. All right. What are a few things that I did? Well, being in the podcast class, I have started creating the process for every episode. What do I need to get done? I actually divided these. I created a board by adding a new board. Okay. And then I just started manipulating that. So, something we want to do is make sure every single task that we're putting in here, it has to have an action, y'all. It has to. When you put market launch, right? We could actually change that to schedule market launch. The reason is we don't want to spend a lot of time with our brains figuring out what we meant. We want to make it really cut and dry, really concise. So we need to book a guest. We need to finalize our scripting. We need to edit the sound, right? Additionally, each task, not only does it need to have an action, we need to assign it to someone, and it's got to have a due date. If you have those three things, your board can be the most basic board I've ever seen, and it will work well. It really will. If you have those three things. Are we stuck on it? Are we done? Or does it need approval? So Lynz and I actually went through and wrote down the steps, what we needed to get done. We need to book a guest, just like we said, right? We need to ultimately publish the episode. And then I kind of categorize this, and Lynz, tell me what you think. We could totally change this, but I categorize these tasks into a group of before it launches, like before the episode launches, and then after the episode launches. I thought that sounded easy. Do you think that makes sense?
Yes, and I had muted myself. How fun. Okay, now so yeah, I think the before and after is great. You could sort of describe those steps as production and marketing if you wanted to.
Ooh,
You
I
could even
love that.
you could even break the before into two, which is pre-production, which is the planning, the booking, the arrangement, and then there would be another one called production, which is the recording, the editing, and the approvals.
So how I did that, y'all, because I love that suggestion. There are these little ellipses to the left-hand side. I'm just going to add a group. Mm-hmm. Okay. Another thing I'm going to do is, hey, Lynz, can you tell me which ones I can drag and drop to production?
Yeah, I think it would be from hold recording down to create show notes.
Okay. Including hold recording?
Hold recording, edit sound, and create show notes would all be in the production workflow.
Cool. So what I can do is if I hover over these items and to the left, there's this cool checkbox. I can move them all at once by selecting the checkbox and then moving it. Move to, I can move it to that group, right? Mm-hmm. Or I can just drag and drop them as well. I'm just going to do that really quick because I think it's more fun. Awesome.
Yeah, there might be. You might actually also be able to put in identify promotional pieces into production.
Ooh, okay. Let's drag and drop.
Because that is ultimately, it happens in the cycle of once you've recorded the thing, you're analyzing it for that. You're in the production cycle of making it at that point.
Cool. Okay. And then, I mean, we still have like finalize social media, publish it, schedule it. And I don't think those really necessarily fit pre-production, but I want to make probably a different group. And I'm not really sure what that would be. You're the expert.
Right. I mean, that could be part of production. It could be part of a distribution.
Ooh. I like that. I don't like gray. Gray says to me on hold or haven't started it yet. So I'm going to change this color of this group.
Oh, cool.
We're going to make this one pink. Pink's great. You said distribution.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Same with groups, y'all. We can just drag and drop. Let's do that. I'm going to make this a little bit more concise. I always do aftercare or aftermath.
Nice.
Or we could even do post-mortem if we wanted to be very project management pinkies out, right? Let's do that. Production. So let's go ahead and drag and drop some of these. No, I'll leave that up there. Unless you want it down. Either way.
Yeah, because I think you can make the plan during the social media plan during pre-production, but then you're just sort of making the pieces of the plan during production and then distributing them during. Yeah, that'll make sense.
That makes sense. So what's really cool about each individual task, if I have more information, I can add it here. I'm not going to do that in the specific board right now because I don't know if y'all notice this banner up here. This board is a template. Changes here are going to be applied to all future boards created from this template. I haven't created any boards from this template because I wanted to really refine it live with you all as well as with Lynz. I wanted to get his feedback on it. My point of view is get your template to 80%. Why do I say that? If you try getting a template to 100%, it's never going to happen because our processes are always improving and changing, right? So if we understand that we're going to change it and improve it in the future, let's start with this and move forward, okay? I'm going to say that, you know what? This is good enough. Mm-hmm. Let's go with it. What do you think?
Sounds good. Yep.
Cool. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a new board, but because I have a template, I want to choose from the templates that I've created. Okay. Templates created in your account. Yes, yes. That is what I would like. And this specific template that I'm going to use is called the show checklist template. Is this one that you want to use? Yes, this is the one that I want to use. I'm going to call it podcast episode, or actually, let's shorten this up. Excuse me. Episode number 1. I call it cheesy goodness. Came to my mind.
Yep.
Sometimes there are projects that we don't want people to see. We might make it private in this case, or if that's the case. Sometimes there are boards that we want to share with guests that want to see what's going on, but they don't need to be a part of your Monday environment. They don't need to have a seat. You don't have to pay for them on a monthly basis. That would be shareable. For now, this is internal. This is Lynz and I. We're both on this Monday account in this workspace. I'm just going to keep it at main. It's visible to everyone in mine. Create. Monday.com does its magic. It takes your template and it says, okay, let me basically replicate this. And so now here it is. I'm going to move this back up into this specific folder because that episode is for this podcast, okay? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through it and I'm going to say, well, pre-production, you know what? Let's assign it out. I know that Kirsten always does pre-production. For this episode, I know that all of pre-production actually has to be finished by the end of this week, and we should start ASAP. We got to start today. I could say, hey, let's, this is actually not going to be published until later. So you know what? We can start this next week. Let's do pre-prod next week. Great. Cool. Because I checked those boxes like we talked about previously, it's going to change all of these at the same time. I can do it individually as well. Okay. But just for fun, we are going to pretend like pretend like this is a real thing. Just apply some fictitious dates. We might be able to do some of these things. Nope, we can't. We can't publish an episode unless it's done with production. Schedule the episode. You know what? We might be able to decide when it's going to be scheduled, or is that not the same thing, Lynz?
I think it is. I mean, I think it's, well, you know, you might end up making a separate thing for, no, I think you can probably do it the same week it's being produced because you can sort of know like it's underway.
Cool. So we can definitely do that, even though it's in a different group. That's okay. There's not a problem with that. We're going to look at this information a little bit differently in a hot second. Then we're going to publish the episode. We know we have to get all this stuff done before we publish the episode. So the earliest I can publish this episode is anytime after the 21st.
Yeah.
Let's just say we're going to publish on a Monday. Cool. And then I want to make sure that everything in postmortem is going to be done. It can be done at the same time it's published all the way through. I'm going to give myself 3 business days. Oh man, do you see what I just did? I forgot to hit escape. I still had all of them checked, so let me go back really quick. 25th through the 27th. Actually, that looks good. No, that's what I wanted to do. Perfect. Okay. Some people don't like list views. I am a sucker for list views. It's the best way that I can digest information. But if that's not the case for you, if you look up here right underneath the label of the board, the title of the board, we're on the main table. We can say, you know what? I'm really good with viewing this as like a card format, right? Let's take a look at that. These are all the different things that we have to do, who they're assigned to. Again, it's just a different way of looking at it. We can also, if we check more views, I also really like looking at things in a calendar. Yes.
Calendars are fun.
Right? We can also change the settings on this calendar. I want to color it by, not by the board. I know that all this stuff is in this board. So let's do it a little bit differently. I want to color it by status. And the reason I want to do that is, let's go back to the main table really quick and just play around with some of this stuff, y'all. Let's say that these 2 things are working on it. This is stuck and this is done. If I go back to that calendar view and click on it.
Oh, that's cool.
Now I can, right, because I can look at a calendar and say, Some stuff we're working on. Ooh, oh no, red. Someone's stuck on this market launch. Let me go get with them. Let me make sure that they know what they need to do and I can remove any obstacles that I need to. Mm-hmm. Right? So again, this is just the template that we're going to use for every single episode. You might be asking, do I have to do just these specific tasks? What if I come up with another task that I forgot to put in my template? Go ahead and add it in your project. If it is a specific task that you think you're going to do with every single episode, make sure you go back to that template and update it here as well. Okay? So I'm going to go into the episode and I'm going to make something up, Lynz, and you can tell me if this is actually a fact. But let's say there was a lot of swearing in this, and I want to find a really funny sound for the swearing that relates to the podcast episode itself. Like, I don't know, like I want to make some kind of sound that will resonate with my grilled cheese audience.
Yeah. Something like a bleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can just add it right there. That's specific to this episode. I don't need to go back and update the template. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, one more thing that I did want to mention as we start to get into booking guests, maybe we're working on it and we don't have anyone that said yes, me, I'm the guest yet. We could put our notes right here so everyone knows what's going on. Spoke with Lynz. Could also, could also ask Tara and Josh what their thoughts are for being a guest on this episode, right? I'm going to go ahead and update that. And it's going to reflect that I have a conversation going. I have some information in here. So if anyone wants to know you're working on it, cool. Oh, let's see what they're working on. Oh, they're not sure yet who they're going to get. It's just more information. Mm-hmm. Additionally, if we wanted to add more columns like files, links out to things, right? Like links out to our final scripting, links out to the sound, so on and so forth, we can just click on that plus and we're going to add another column. I can search right up here for a link. What other columns do you think would be helpful, Lynz?
Let's see, a link. I mean, that's really because you have the description one. Like that's the other important thing. I would say.
The lesser amount of columns that you have, the better.
Right.
Fun fact.
No, yeah, I might have inflated it at, a year ago even. I might have tried to add more, but I think it's like less is more.
I think this is more helpful just to show there's a ton of different types of columns that you can do. So many column types. We could also automate the heck out of this board. Okay. We could say, if it's marked done, send a notification via Slack over to so-and-so and all these things, right? So these are just different ways that you can streamline your workflow and really beef it up. All these options. We're not going to do that right now. No. But you can do that.
Yeah.
And it's very helpful.
So what would you recommend in terms of, I guess we're about to get to that, but like what, when we're tracking, we have multiple episodes going concurrently. Let's say we're working on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
Is there like a zoomed out visualization of those?
Yeah, let's do it. Let me create a couple of dummy boards really quickly and just bear with me. What we're going to do is create a dashboard, and the dashboard allows you to connect multiple boards to it to reflect that high level overview of all these episodes. What's going on? What's the progress of my podcast overall from a project management perspective? Let's call this episode 2. Maybe we don't have a name for it yet. Create board. Let's do one more, and that'll give a really good visualization. Let me drag and drop it up here. Let me also go back and do this one more time. I'm going to choose from my templates, and I'm going to choose from templates in my account. Here is my checklist template, and we're going to call this episode number 3, to be determined. Let's create that board. And then, you know what? This is going to drive me nuts. Episode number 2, it doesn't have the number sign in it. Let me click on that really quick, go and add that back in the title. I am going to.
Is really good, right? It's like you can get lost in trying to get all those details right, but I think when you've labeled things well, it really makes life easier. I mean, I think I try to do it with my files. I try to do it in these things as well. So that's always a good idea.
And again, what I'm going to do is just fill in some information for fun so that we have, so that we can view it on the dashboard and understand what that's going to look like. Let's say we're stuck on all these things. All right. Let's put in some information on this one just for the fun of it. Let's go back to, I know this doesn't necessarily make sense, y'all, but
sometimes you record
it will be helpful for the visualization.
Right? Sometimes you record an episode and then but you're going to publish them in a different order than you record them. So this third one might have been the one you recorded first.
Hey, could have been. Let's go here to here. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click, instead of doing a new board or using a template, I'm just going to choose a new dashboard. And I'm going to say this is the grilled cheese experience dashboard. Really creative. I'm going to let everybody in the account see it. And now it's going to say, hey, what boards do you want me to take a look at and slice and dice up information for you? And I'm going to say, well, specifically my episodes. I can always go back and say, you know what? I want my episodes, all of those boards on there. I also want my marketing. I also want so on and so forth, but we haven't looked at marketing yet, so I'm not going to add them. Let me go ahead and click done. It's telling me the 3 are there. Great. And what I can do is start adding widgets. What kind of widgets should I add? Well, first, I want a chart that shows progress of tasks. I don't know. How about that? I can even go further and say, I want it to look like this, right? Or a donut. I don't like donut though, so I'm going to go back. Let me actually make this a little bit clearer. Episode, task, progress, right?
Right.
We really, really liked that calendar view. You liked that calendar view, Lynz?
Yeah, I love the calendar view.
Cool. Let's make you a calendar. It's not here. That's okay. More widgets. Look at all these things we can do. I'm going to do calendar for Lynz. You can even call it this task. Oops. So task calendar. And remember how we had to update it in the settings to understand what we're coloring it by?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to color it by board. I want to color it by status. They all came from the same template, aka cut from the same cloth. So I know they all have the same statuses as far as being able to choose the same statuses, excuse me. So I want to color it by status. What that helps me to do is say what's coming up and what's the status, right? Something else that's going to help us actually with this specific example is going to be a timeline. Let me make it a little bit bigger.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's date based by person and sort of left to right timeline. Yeah, that's good.
Yes. So I'm glad that you brought up the dashboard. Also, let me drag and drop it to the appropriate spot. I'm actually going to get rid of this as well. Let's delete that by just clicking on the ellipses. I wanted to spend a lot of time on the checklist because I think it's really important. If you can nail down that checklist to 80% and start adding that discipline and consistency for the episodes, you'll know where you're at. You'll know your progress. You know what you have left to do. You can also utilize that to delegate out to other people, right? As your team grows or as you develop other team members. Having that checklist is going to truly cut down on the energy and time that you have to spend every day and systematize it, right? So,
yeah.
Do you have any questions on what we did with the episodes and keeping those in line?
No, I think it would just sort of be like, at what point, I guess when they're done, is there a archive graveyard? Like, do you put them in a new folder? Because at some point that list along the left side is going to get intense if you get 20, 30, 50 episodes deep, right?
For sure. So we can go ahead and archive it here. I will say the search function in Monday is so good. So good. So whether it's archived or not, we can just search right here and it'll bring it up. You're not going to lose it, right? I'm going to head back to the workspace. And I would recommend that, right? Get it out of your brain space. Get it out of your line of sight. If it's done, it's done. You can always pull from it later. More than likely you won't, right? When it's done, it's done.
Right. And you may keep that episode on a marketing spreadsheet so that you continue to remarket old episodes, but you don't need that workflow you already did to do that.
For sure.
Got it.
I'm glad you brought up marketing because I think that's really another important piece and we can run through it pretty quickly. Let's look at a different type of board. I made just a basic marketing board. Oh, do you like my campaigns?
Great campaigns.
Thank you so much. So these are my campaigns. We got, Get Cheesy With Us. I want to publish it on these specific dates. That's why I named that date column publish date. But there's also a date that these things are due. Like I want it done on a specific day, and then I want to publish it on a different day. So I'm using 2 different dates. I also have a couple of different teammates that work on stuff. A poster, someone that actually posts the campaign. I have someone that works on copy. I have someone that works on, imagery or digital assets. Okay. Additionally, I really wanted columns for the imagery that we would end up using. And once it's posted, I want the link to it because I want to see it. I want to, I want to see what's going on and say, we have X amount of, we have X amount of engagement going on. We have this much organic growth over the last post or whatever. I want to see that. Any hoodles. Additional columns that I used, we had gone over when we were in the episode boards, we had talked about, all of these different column types, right? I really like status columns. That's actually, so please bear with me. There is a type of column within Monday called a status column, just like there's a drop down, there's a date, so on and so forth. I used a status column not only for the actual status of the campaign, but I also use that for my different channels in marketing, and I used it for different types. Whether it's a post or a video or a story or whatever, okay? The reason why I did that is if I want to automate in Monday.com, it's really, really easy to automate based on a status type column. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I can do like a lot more stuff with that type versus a drop down.
Like
type of
anytime
column.
a YouTube thing is is selected as the status, then this X, Y, and Z would happen.
You got it. 100%. So with that, what I would like to do is show you, hey, you know what? If we wanted to get cheesy with us, not only on LinkedIn, but I also want to do that on, Instagram, whatever. I can just use that checkbox again. I want to duplicate it. I'm going to duplicate actually the items and the updates. And it's just going to copy it really quick. So I can get rid of that copy, and then I can say this one's actually going to be, what did I say, Instagram?
Instagram, yeah.
Cool. So we can do that. And now we have it. Yay.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I did set up one automation in here, Lynz. So I just went here and, anytime the status changes to posted, like just get that out of my way. I want to still see it, like you mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to still see it in case I want to reuse it, recycle it. But I don't want it in planned. So if let's say these were done. They're posted. As soon as those are marked as posted, I created an automation so it gets out of my way. And it will move down there.
Yeah, so when it hits publish date, so on the 7th, it'll
Mm-hmm.
they'll move down.
Right.
Sense.
We could even update that automate.
Go
ahead. Go ahead.
Due,
sorry.
Yeah, I like that. So they're still due, so they haven't gone out, or I guess
Right.
they have. But
so you know what?
Early.
Let's update it. Or we could say, forget all of these considerations. Let's make our own. I'm just going to turn it off for now. You can also delete it. I'm going to say, let's go to the automation center. Basic. I believe it's under basic. When the status changes to something, just move it to a group, right? So let's look under status changes right here. When a status changes to posted, move it to the posted group, right? Cool. I'm going to exit out of here. Let's say that, oh man, I might have to redo it because I did it too soon.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say this one's posted. Let's say this one's posted.
Oh, yep.
Bye.
Yep.
Yes. So automations are really cool for auto assigning people. If the type is story, the poster is always going to be Kate. If the channel is Instagram, the assets are always going to be created by Kirsten, whatever. So you can automate all of that kind of stuff. I also want to show you, because you love these calendars, sir. This is a great way to look at a marketing calendar. Right here, I set it up in the settings to look at it as, fromage frenzy. That's going to be a Facebook post. Yep. So I can take a look and see, am I doing too much Instagram? Am I not doing enough LinkedIn? Why are all these posts on the same day? Maybe I should move them. and we can drag and drop them.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
All right. Going back to the main table really quick though, I did create an idea spot. So one thing about Lynz has all of the ideas, and any way that we can capture these ideas, gold,
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. So thinking of you,
Thank you.
I have made sure that there is ideas here. You know, we have another board just for a parking lot that's really blank. We can make it whatever we want. We can actually shape this up a little bit, like ideas parking lot, right? Last thing I did want to run through really quick, guest booking. So something I learned is in the podcast class, something I learned is I should be reaching out to guests kind of early and often to make sure that I'm filling my pipeline, right? This is a podcast that, you know, each season I want to do, let's say 10 episodes. And I want to start getting everyone ready and prepared, recording them, and then assigning them to episodes. It may be in order, it may be out of order, as quickly as I can. So this is a place where I'm really just going to focus on who am I working to get on the podcast? Who would I like to have on the podcast? Right? Ideas of who I would like to have, who am I actually chatting with, who's booked to be a guest.
Yeah. That is great because booking is hard. I mean, you know, it is one of those things that can be for people who have guest centric podcasts. It is the schedule stopper of all time because one, you can go through all that time, book somebody, and then they forget, even if you've reminded them. But also, just people are busy. You know, they have their own lives they're trying to do. Like, they're even someone who's trying to do you a favor, or even someone for whom this would be a really great benefit to them. It still has to work in their life. You know, like it has to. So anyway, booking is a challenging thing, and so the better you can set up your world to kind of keep your notes and be able to just quickly make one. You know, when you hear back from somebody, you can make one click and then update it. The less friction there, the better, for sure.
Yeah. Question for you. Do you have some sort of submission for your guests
Yeah,
to fill out for your shows?
we have a release form, and often we're also asking for their headshot and their bio, and so we have a couple different tools we use for that, um, depending on the project. But
I love that.
our host, Captivate, uh, actually has a whole thing where you can use it to submit, you know, have guests fill out their, you know, fill in certain stuff when they book a time, and you can set up a calendar through them and everything. So there are several tools that can kind of do that part. And
Very cool.
yeah.
I love that. Let's say we're using Monday.com. We don't have the cash flow for the other tools.
Mm-hmm.
We would be able to utilize a form here as
Cool.
well. So we can send this, and once they submit the form, we can do a redirect link to Calendly
Mm-hmm.
to book a time, which is really cool. We have that option over here. So we can say, let me make these visible. We can ask different questions. We can make them required. We can upload the logo, right? The Growth Network podcast, or even the specific podcast logo right here, Lynz.
Yeah.
And this can go out. And it's just an easy web form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could always have, I mean, I could imagine this is where people could express their own interest, you know, potentially. You're like, hey, if
Yeah.
you want to be on this show, here's the self identifying, get into our system thing. And then maybe once we've selected somebody, we send them to a different form for the actual release part.
Oh, I love that. I love that very much. So
Cool.
we
Awesome.
have all of these different things, and like we talked about, you can plug and play all this stuff back in the dashboard too, and see what's going on with guest booking from the dashboard, what's going on with marketing, so on and so forth. But yeah,
That
those
is
were just
awesome. So, I think we've put together something, within you could really get started with. You could really create this show, and um, maybe one day we'll actually do that. But I really appreciated, you walking through the different things, the
for
hands-on
sure.
approach, getting to see it and everything. And so, um, I want people, if they think they want your help in doing any kind of project management like thing, what's the best way for them to
Yeah,
reach out to you? And I'm going to take this off and put us back up here. Boom.
sure. Yeah, honestly, hit up the website www.pathtosummit.com. You can email me directly, Kirsten at pathtosummit.com, or if it's easier, info at pathtosummit.com. Give us a shout. We meet with everyone that is interested in project management, has some ideas, having a hard time articulating how to put it together. We have a free 30-minute consult, so feel free to just give us a shout and we'll get you booked.
Awesome. Um, and just to wrap things up, if you want to work with us on making a podcast or just even consulting or around your own process to make sure you've thought about all the different things that you might not know about. We've worked on enough shows that we've seen at least a lot of the common pitfalls, or we've done them, quite frankly. And so we can share that experience with you. Um, we also have, the course that I mentioned earlier. And then lastly, this is the newest fun development. We have our 5-star podcast journal, which is a place when you're working on
Yes.
episodes, you often need to take notes. And while you could put it into the Monday.com spreadsheet, it might make more sense to put it in here, put timestamps for each show, make some markings. This is what I devised this to keep track of shows that I'm editing, and so it's available on Amazon. It's only $6.99. So shameless plug for the cool new thing we're working on here. And thanks again, Kirsten, for hanging out with us.
For sure.
Really, we created a whole workable thing in under an hour, and that was pretty fun. So
It's pretty
um,
cool.
next week, going to be working in Descript, and we're going to be making promo clips super easily with Descript. It's one of my favorite tools. I call it magic. And so anyone who wants to hang out, come next Wednesday. We'll be doing it again at 10 Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And I'm going to sign off now. Thank you again, Kirsten. Thanks everyone who's watching.
See
And
ya.
bye-bye.
See ya.